Hi, I'm Coach Tracy Knight, and in this video, this is the third video in the 5-part series on the forum, but this is the second step in the process, and this is the step on problem solving. Now, so often what ends up happening is we vent things out. People sometimes get stuck on just the venting and wanting somebody to soothe them, but we really don't actually solve the problem. And what we want to do is solve the problem so we don't keep having the problem over and over and over again. So this is where the rubber meets the road. Now that you've vented, now that you've been soothed, you've de-escalated the mind, the ego, as well as the heart. Now it's time to bring that rational mind, the problem-solving mind, the analytical mind, the truth-telling mind online so that we can get to a true resolution. So problem solving is the second step. The goal here is to identify the root issue, not the symptoms, the root of the issue, and to create a win-win solution. So in some of my past videos, you may have heard me talk about the distinction between a win-win solution, where both parties get what they absolutely want, versus compromise, where you have to sacrifice. Everybody has to sacrifice something to get to some type of agreement. That's a compromiser. Or the lose-win, where you're the accommodator, you lose so that the other person can win. A win-lose, you win and the other person loses. Or it's a lose-lose because you just avoid having the conversation altogether. Well, in step 2, our goal is to get to a win-win solution, if possible. At a bare minimum, compromise, but we hope to get to a win-win. Okay, problem solving, getting to the root of the issue. The issue is rarely, ever what we think it is. Most conflict is driven around the symptoms, but there's a deeper issue at hand. There are unresolved patterns. There are unmet needs. There are deeper concerns. So in order to get to that, we have to move beyond the blame and beyond the behavior and pointing the finger at the person, right? We have to separate the person from an action or inaction that was taken, okay? We want to start looking for patterns, not the personality. And once the root is identified, solutions become so much clearer, and we can really create things that are sustainable for us. So on the next slide, I'm wanting you to look at and look in your handout at a list of common root causes of conflict and relationship breakdowns. I have 10 categories, and I've given you a few common scenarios that fall underneath each of these categories. So I want you to take a moment to go through to see whether or not, is this a communication breakdown? And if so, what type of communication breakdown? Is it an issue of trust, respect and recognition, accountability and reliability, power and control, process and operational issues, expectations or differences of style, work approaches, personalities? Is it an emotional or personal factor that is playing into this situation? Is it an issue of inclusion and belonging? Or is it mission alignment? So once you identify and you've gone through the list, I want you to ask yourself a question. What is the real issue underneath my issue? I know we thought it was one thing. That's what we vented out about, right? But what is the real issue? When you get down to the nitty gritty of it, what is it? And one of the things that you can really, that will really help you to do this is to figure out, like, where is it at its core? Like, what's preventing us from working together as sisters, as colleagues, as a family? What is the thing, the biggest thing that is impacting our ability to work and relate in a positive way together? Okay, so that gets us to the root issue. Once you have that, write that down. Next, we are going to create a solution. The question at hand is, what would help prevent this issue from occurring in the future? What needs to be placed? If it's the one thing that needs to change, what is that? Right? And we need to be specific, not high level. So you want to focus on the future, not blame. We're not going back to the past. We've already vented it out. Now we're at the present. What can we do going forward? You want to focus on the root, not the symptoms. Make sure you keep asking, is this the symptom? How do I know that that it's not the symptom? How do I know that this is the root of it and not the symptom? Okay. Identify the behavior, standards, a process, or accountability that needs to be put into place. And I'm going to offer you some suggestions on that in a moment. And then figure out how this could be a win-win for both parties, which will require you to ask that of the other person, right? What is it that they want to get out of it in order for it to be a win-win? What do you need to get out of it? What do they need to get out of it? Okay. Now, here are potential solutions. One is creating a set of standards. Sisterly standards, team standards. The standards basically say how this goes beyond policies and procedures. It goes beyond bylaws. This is about how we engage in relationship with each other. So this is how do we treat one another? What is most important in the way that we treat each other? Okay, so we can put a set of standards in place. Another solution could be following existing processes, because maybe the breakdown is because people are not following the bylaws, the policies and procedures that are in place. So sometimes people will usurp authority and skip over a process that's already in place. So we need to get back to the basics, right? Or improve the process. Maybe the process is fractured or incomplete and it needs to be updated. Okay. And then finally, maybe it's something new that needs to be created, a new practice, a new protocol, or expectations, or a tool. Okay. So this is getting to the root of the situation and then creating a solution, a viable solution, something that can be repeated over and over and over again so that this incident does not happen again.